Chapter 2. Shadows Beneath the Waves. The ship rocked violently, each wave slamming against its hull like the fist of an angry god. The storm had not let up since they fled Isseris, and the sea seemed determined to tear them apart. Alya clung to the railing, her knuckles white as she stared out over the furious ocean. The glow of the relic in her satchel pulsed steadily like a heartbeat. It was guiding her somewhere, but the journey felt like madness. "Hold on!" Kieran barked, his voice straining against the howling wind. "This beast of a storm isn't natural." Alya's gaze shifted to the darkened horizon. He was right. The sky looked like something out of a nightmare, twisted clouds clawing at the heavens with lightning flashing in their depths. "It's the relic, isn't it?" Alya said, her voice trembling. "It's calling something." "It's calling everything," Kieran replied grimly. "Every cursed thing in the ocean is going to know where we are if it keeps glowing like that." They sailed on through the relentless storm, the crew fighting desperately to keep the ship from splintering apart. But the real terror wasn't just the sea's wrath, it was what lay beneath. Alya could feel it, something immense moving just beyond the reach of the waves. The sensation of being watched crawled along her skin like icy needles, and worse, there was something else. A darkness that wasn't just the storm or the ocean's depth, it was a hunger. Hours passed before the tempest began to ease. The waves still rolled with vicious force, but the rain had softened to a miserable drizzle. The crew was exhausted, their faces drawn with fatigue and fear. "We need to make for Merakov," Kieran said, his tone sharp. "It's the closest port, and it has the only temple that might make sense of this thing." "Merakov?" Alya repeated, her eyes narrowing. "You said you wouldn't go back there." "Desperate times," Kieran muttered, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "If anyone can help us, it's the temple scholars. They have tomes older than most civilizations." The thought of finding answers lifted Alya's spirits, even as doubt gnawed at her. "What if they refuse to help?" she asked. "They won't," Kieran replied, his jaw tightening. "Because we have something worth more than gold. That relic of yours, it's not just a key, it's a weapon." Alya's fingers tightened around her satchel. "A weapon? Something powerful enough to wake the dead, if the stories are true," Kieran said. "And trust me, there are people who would kill to possess it." A chill ran down Alya's spine, but there was no turning back. The journey to Merakov was harsh, but by the time they reached the harbor, the storm had finally subsided. The city rose like a jagged crown along the coastline, its towering spires and crumbling stone buildings etched with centuries of salt and decay. But it was not the city's decay that troubled Alya. It was the fact that Kieran was tense, his eyes constantly scanning their surroundings as if expecting danger at every corner. "Stay close," he warned, as they made their way through the crowded marketplace. "This place is crawling with mercenaries, Lady Thalassa's dogs." "Lady Thalassa," Alya repeated, the name unfamiliar. "Aquarim sorceress," Kieran said. "She's been hunting for something like your relic for years. Whatever her reasons, they aren't good." Alya's chest tightened. Someone was already hunting them. But why? What was this relic truly capable of? Their destination was a temple half buried in the ruins of the city's oldest district. The air was thick with the smell of salt and decay, and the shadows felt alive crawling along the ancient stone walls. Inside, the temple was dark and cold, its halls lined with crumbling statues and worn murals depicting battles against creatures of the deep. At its center lay an altar carved from black stone, its surface marred by age and neglect. "Wait here," Kieran said, his voice low. "I'll speak with the scholars." He vanished into the darkness, leaving Alya alone in the cold, hollow silence. Alya stared at the mural beside her, its faded colors still hinting at a long-forgotten war. The figures depicted looked aquarim, their eyes blazing with determination as they fought against shadowed leviathans. But it was the central figure that caught her attention, a woman holding a glowing stone much like the one she carried. The stone was a beacon. And a curse. "Lost, are we?" a voice croaked behind her. Alya spun, her heart hammering in her chest. A bent, grey-haired man stood before her, his eyes sharp and curious. "Who are you?" Alya asked. "Just an old man with too much knowledge and too little time," he replied. "But you You carry something of great importance, something best left forgotten. The warning in his voice made her blood run cold. But there was also something else. Hope. What do you know about the relic? Alya asked, her voice trembling. Enough to know it will bring death and salvation in equal measure, the man replied. If you seek answers, you will need more than just the temple's scholars. You will need the truth buried deep beneath the waves. Alya's heart clenched. Where do I find it? The man's eyes glittered with a mixture of fear and fascination. The ruins of Zharokh, and you will not survive the journey alone. As Alya turns to find Kieran, the sound of clashing steel and dying screams erupts. From the temple entrance, mercenaries have found them, their orders clear. Kill anyone who knows the truth of Zharokh.